Good morning. It is 10:03 a.m. on December 12th, 2012, and this meeting of the Camino Real Regional Mobility Authority Board is now in session. Ms. Rowe, any public comments?
No public comments.
Item 3, adoption of the minutes from the special CRRMA board meeting of October 23rd, 2012. Has everyone had an opportunity to review those minutes?
Move to adopt.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Minutes are approved. Item 4, presentation, discussion, and action on a board resolution selecting a professional engineering firm to complete the environmental and preliminary engineering phases of the Loop 375 America's Managed Lane project and authorizing the executive director to negotiate an agreement for board review and approval. Mr. Tejas.
Raymond Tejas, Executive Director of the Camino Real RMA. So today with us we have Sharon Becca, who is with our General Engineering Consultant team, and she's going to provide a presentation to you all that will outline the process that we've taken to get to this step. As mentioned in the caption for the agenda, the RMA went out with a procurement seeking an engineering firm that would provide preliminary engineering and environmental services for the America's Managed Lanes segment of the Loop 375 corridor. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Becca, and I'll ask IT to pull up the presentation, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, board members. Good morning, all. I'm Sharon Becca, and as Raymond mentioned, I'm here to present to you the procurement process that's been undertaken for the environmental and preliminary engineering for the America's Managed Lane project. So today, over the next few minutes, I'll kind of run through the project overview, the procurement and evaluation processes, the recommendation made by the selection committee, the next steps, and I'll entertain questions throughout the presentation. So as you're aware, this is Project 14B of the 2008 Comprehensive Mobility Plan for the region. It's located north of the Zaragoza port of entry, and the project seeks to continue the managed lanes from the Cesar Chavez eastern terminus northbound through IH-10 to Pelicano. Continuing on with the project overview, the existing layout for the project corridor, it's a 4-lane divided limited access facility with grade separated crossings. They're one-way frontage roads, 3 lanes each, except over at the UP Railroad track, just north of Almeida. The proposed layout is to continue the 5th and 6th lanes, like I mentioned earlier, from the Zaragoza port of entry northbound to Pelicano Drive. This will take place in the median, and the distance is approximately 6.1 miles. And I should note that all or a portion of the additional lanes would consist of managed toll lanes. The scope of services provided in the procurement effort included surveying, development of the design schematic, conducting environmental studies in accordance with NEPA to secure environmental clearance, and also conducting public involvement activities throughout the corridor. The procurement process took place in 2 phases, basically. We went out first with a request for qualifications, and then we followed up with a request for proposal. The RFQ was qualifications based and open to all interested firms. The RFP, which happened after the RFQ completed, was opened only to the firms that were shortlisted during the RFQ process. Throughout the process, the evaluation took place through a selection committee, and the oversight was conducted by the El Paso district. The selection committee, we had 3 representatives from CRRMA, the city of El Paso, as well as El Paso County, and they were consistent throughout both the RFQ and the RFP process. The schedule for the procurement, we issued the RFQ back in July. The shortlist recommendation was made on the 27th, and the board acted on that shortlist recommendation on August 28th. We subsequently issued the RFP to the shortlisted firms in September, and that's the reason why I'm here today. The selection committee has made their recommendation, and we're looking for the board action on the selection. So back in July, when we first released the RFQ, we received 5 statements of qualifications from the firms listed here. These are firms that you most likely are very familiar with. They've been all doing work in the area. DBE, disadvantaged business enterprise goal of 6% was established for the project. And the third column, of course, lists the DBE for each of the prime firms. So moving back into the evaluation process, the scoring criteria was based on 6 elements. Of course, the project manager experience and key staff experience being the major ones. And I should note that there was a change in the slide for the one that you received previously. So just note that the slide is different than what you have in your package. But essentially, the selection committee evaluated the RFQ looking at these 6 elements. And based on that, the average score, as listed here, indicated that the top 3 ranked firms were Hewitt Zollers, Parkhill Smith and Cooper, Brown and Gay and Parkhill Smith and Cooper. And that was a resolution passed by the board on the 28th of August to move forward into the RFP process with these 3 firms. So again, the RFP was submitted to the top 3 ranked firms from the RFQ process in September, and they were asked to submit proposals that focused on their understanding and approach to completing the project, and also the time frame for completing those efforts. So it was basically an 80-20 split. Based again on the rankings, the scoring elements supplied by the selection committee, the average score for project understanding and approach was 7.22, the schedule 6.85, and a 71.5% for the total average score. And as you can see, Brown and Gay came out as a top firm during this process. Questions? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, we're just not seeing the rest of the presentation, I guess. I mean, it's one that we opened up on the agenda, but we don't have what we're looking up at on the screen.
We can't see the RFP rankings.
Right.
Sorry,
could we have IT come out?
Maybe if I close this will come out.
Oops. Sorry, I need to go back.
was on from the
We need them to see what's being projected as opposed to the website.
And I need to go back here.
What are you guys trying to look at?
The same presentation that she's giving right now.
Yeah, that's,
This is it? Okay, so how did you get it?
Just access the attachment.
The screen stream, that's the one issue.
Okay. Okay, I was on the, okay.
The stream, so the stream is what,
Yeah, that's what she's got.
the
Okay.
stream, okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Okay, there it is.
Okay, cool.
Thank you.
So we're good? Okay. Sorry about that. So, again, based on the selection committee recommendation, Brown and Gay was listed as a top-ranked firm. And essentially, I'm here today representing the selection committee, and they're requesting that the board of directors select the top-ranked firm of Brown and Gay to move forward into negotiations to complete the project.
are there any questions?
Just one, that's,
Sorry.
that 6%, how did we arrive with that number?
Just 5%?
No, it's just 6% was gonna go to DBEs?
Is it 6 or 5?
It's 6%, yes.
Yeah, I looked into that a little bit myself, and I believe every project that goes through TxDOT, the Office of Civil Rights, and the Office of Civil Rights establishes that percentage for individual projects. Is that correct?
That is correct. When we first started out the procurement process, we were going through that evaluation with TxDOT. And so one of the amendments that we issued was based on the recommendation by the,
Anybody have any clue how TxDOT came to that number, or they woke up one day and said 6 sounds like a nice number or something?
I believe the way that it was explained to me is that generally the DBE number is established by the type of services that are going to be provided, and with also in consideration with the number of DBEs that are registered throughout the state for those types of services. So, and then they look at the region as well. So they take those factors into consideration. Then they identify the DBE percentage.
Yeah, it's based on local capabilities of registered DBEs for that, just exactly as Raymond said.
So there's a formula, it's not an arbitrary number that's picked from project to project.
right,
Well, it does change from project to project because of and it's based upon the type of services that you're requesting for that particular project.
So the 6% is not fixed, so who determines on what project? What I'm trying to, how do they come up with 6% for this project? And if it's a
That's
different
done through
project,
TxDOT.
is that-
Right.
Do they have a
So like,
formula?
for example, the Americas Interchange, the type of services that are requested, there were more DBEs available in this region for that type of work. So the DBE for Americas Interchange was 11.1. However, similarly, for the toll integration system procurement that we went out for, the DBE percentage on that was 0 because of the very unique nature of those services that were being requested.
There's
So it is
only a
case by
small
case.
number of firms that can provide that actual service.
Okay. Pretty small, actually, but that's another story.
So, and subject to your question, what we're presenting to you today, then, of course, is the recommendation of the selection committee, and what we're asking from you is an action that would select Brown and Gay as the highest ranked firm, and also authorize the executive director to negotiate a contract and come back to you all in January, hopefully in January, with a contract ready for execution. So those are the action items that we would request.
Before I ask for a motion, are there any more questions regarding the selection process or any of the, what went into the selection process?
No.
With that said, is there a motion to accept the selection committee's recommendation of Brown and Gay?
So moved.
Is there, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
you're welcome. Thank you.
We're also delighted to see all of our engineering friends here today. So congratulations to Brown and Gage. And thank you to the local engineering firm for participating in this procurement, and we appreciate your support. Thank you. Anything else on item 4, Mr. Tejas?
No, sir.
Item 5, discussion and action on a board resolution authorizing the executive director to execute a financial assistance agreement with the Texas Department of Transportation for the Loop 375 America's Managed Lane project. Mr. Tejas?
So a little bit of background. This item obviously is related to item number 4.
Excuse me, I lost my screen.
I think you can.
I think we probably should have mentioned this before. The screen.
There you go. Thank you.
There we go. Okay. We're working through the technology issues. So item number 5 obviously relates to number 4. Item number 5 is how we're going to pay for item number 4. If we go back in time, the RMA entered into a financial assistance agreement with TxDOT many years ago that provided us with the funds necessary to develop the preliminary work for each of the proposed toll projects. So those are the funds that we've used to engage Ms. Becca and our general engineering consultants to actually procure the environmental and preliminary engineering services that we've just selected under item number 4. So what we need is a funding source to go forward once we hire the preliminary engineering and environmental firm, once we hire them to get through the schematic and the environmental phases. So what you see before you is item number 5 is the result of a toll equity application request that we submitted back in May. We went through the standard process with TxDOT, which requires 2 readings at the Texas Transportation Commission, and that was approved back in August, I believe. So what you have before you today is the actual agreement that results from that toll equity application process. The agreement, as you'll note, is for $1.3 million. It's in the form of a grant, not a loan, which is very important. And it is specifically related to the provision of the services that we've discussed. That $1.3 million is total project funds, so that includes everything from the preliminary engineering and environmental work, as well as the general engineering consultant, the RMA services, administrative, legal, and everything else tied to the completion of the environmental and schematic phase. So that's what you see as number 5. I will mention there was one additional agreement that we have to enter into. As you know, with most of our agreements with TxDOT, whenever we try to improve a state highway, we normally have a financial assistance agreement that provides us the funding, but we also have a project development agreement that actually grants us the authority to do the work on the highway. So that project development agreement has been drafted, and in fact, we drafted it and shared it with TxDOT, I believe, yesterday. So I'm hopeful that I will have the project development agreement in a form that is ready for execution for the board next month in January. So that's what item number 5 is, subject to your questions, of course.
Any questions from Mr. Tejas?
Just for my clarification, it says on the second paragraph, says we have access to 1.3 million. We don't have to borrow the 1.3 million, or we're going to borrow all 1.3?
It was a toll equity grant.
Right.
Right. The way that it
Access to, so.
Right. The way that it operates is it's on a reimbursement basis. So what we'll do is we'll actually engage the general engineering consultant, the firm that does the work, and any other services that we need. We'll compile those invoices after the month of the services that have been provided. We'll submit one invoice to TxDOT each month that includes all of the services necessary. Then they reimburse us, and then we pay the actual consultants. So that's how we have access as opposed to actual receipt of funds.
And Raymond, we're not borrowing it. It's a grant.
Right.
So
That's
that's
just
important.
with access to, kind of.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Is there a motion authorizing the executive director to execute a financial assistance agreement with the Texas Department of Transportation for Loop 375 America's Managed Lanes project?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Item 6, discussion and action on a board resolution authorizing the executive director to execute an agreement for toll system integration and maintenance with Telvent USA, LLC.
Raymond Tejas, again, as we've discussed in the past, the RMA went out with a procurement for the selection of a systems integrator, a toll systems integrator. At the special October board meeting of October 23rd, the board selected Telvent and authorized me to negotiate an agreement and bring it back for board approval. So what you have before you today is item number 6, is the agreement for approval. Here's some, and I've shared with you all a memo that kind of provides the highlights of the actual agreement, but I'll share a couple of them with you as well. The RFP, going back in time, was issued August 1, 2012. The board selected Telvent on October 23rd, authorized negotiation of an agreement. The scope within this agreement is to design, install, and maintain toll systems that will be ultimately owned by the RMA. The agreement itself actually identifies 2 notices to proceed, so we're really talking about 2 services here. The notice to proceed 1 provides that the vendor, in this case Telvent, will design, install, and test, essentially get a tolling system up and running, and that essentially falls under notice to proceed 1. The costs for that would be an amount up to $2.9 million, and that's also in your contract. The notice to proceed 2 then takes effect once the toll system is up and running, and that's really a maintenance component. And that maintenance component is for a period of 5 years, and it's for an amount up to $849,000. So what we're really talking about in this contract is 2 notices to proceed with an amount up to $3.8 million. We do have an option to extend the maintenance services an additional 5 years after that initial term expires. That's at the RMA's discretion. And lastly, the system will be operational within 337 days from notice to proceed number 1. So that's kind of the highlights. Obviously, we have Greg Blake here from our general engineering consultant team who spearheaded the negotiation and also the procurement as well. So if you have any questions, we can ask Mr. Blake to join us. We also have representatives from Telvent here should you have any questions of them as well.
Is there any questions from Mr. Tejas or from Greg Blake or the representative from Telvent in regards to kind of the setup or the maintenance? As Mr. Tejas mentioned, there is a second option on the maintenance agreement that that's available to us for an additional 5 years. And I believe it's 330 days. Is that what it is from notice to proceed?
337, yes, sir.
337 from notice to proceed as far as operational of the managed lanes. So we're looking at if notice to proceed is when that is given, we're looking at sometime in November, December for the managed lanes being operational. Is that correct?
Something along those lines, right? Well, and in fact, actually, should you all approve this, we have a kickoff meeting scheduled for this afternoon where I will actually sign these agreements if you all approve it, and we'll issue notice to proceed today if you all approve.
Move to approve.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion carries. Item 7. Discussion and action on board resolutions authorizing the following actions as they relate to the Loop 375 at I-10 America's Interchange Project. A, make payment to the America's Gateway Builders for expenses incurred by the Dispute Resolution Board by the Design Build Comprehensive Development Agreement. And B, ratify actions taken to execute and implement change order number 3 for the completion of milling and overlay work for the project limits, within the project limits. Mr. Tejas?
So we'll take 7A first, which deals with the Dispute Resolution Board. Within the Comprehensive Development Agreement that we entered into with America's Gateway Builders, there's a provision in there that actually requires the use of a Dispute Resolution Board. And what that board does, and we've talked about it in the past, but to update you and some of the newer board members, when you have a comprehensive development agreement as large as we did, which was $141 million, you generally include a provision for a dispute resolution board. And what that board does is it comes in quarterly to the project site, and you have a meeting between the developer team and the owner team and the dispute resolution board. And what you do is you update the board and you tell them a little bit about the project, tell them how it's been going, what the issues of conflict are, how it's been moving, and that sort of thing. And the intent of it really is to have an outside independent party that is aware of the project, knows the details of it. So in the event that you have a major dispute, you can call them in. They can be in within a week or two, and you can actually have a little mini hearing and have the dispute resolved by the decision of that board. And it really helps, and I should mention, thankfully, we didn't actually need the dispute resolution board in this particular project because the conflicts that we had, we were able to resolve amicably. So it worked really well. However, dispute resolution boards tend to work really well in instances in which you have a conflict which the parties cannot resolve. So it's kind of if you don't need it, you might almost see it as a waste, but when you need it, it really is helpful. So anyhow, the comprehensive development agreement required the use of a dispute resolution board, but also noted that the developer, in this case, Americas Gateway Builders, would pay for the dispute resolution board, and then in the end would bill us for one half of the expenses. So in our case, we were meeting quarterly. We actually, in the end, terminated the board early because we didn't need them and we were moving so smoothly. And as you know, we're very close to the end. So we didn't actually spend as much as we initially thought we would. So in the end, the Americas Gateway Builders has paid the dispute resolution board $68,977.40, of which they are now asking for reimbursement of half, which is $34,488.70 from the Comunidad RMA. So subject to your questions, I'm asking for approval of this item.
And just as a side note, this was addressed in our final partnering session. We had partnering sessions quarterly with AGB, with our GEC, TxDOT, getting together, talking about how we move the project forward. And at the end, we kind of talked about, the project, what could have been done better, different questions in regards to how the project went forward. You're talking about a $141 million project, and AGB, which as you know is a joint venture between Zachary and Sage 2M Hill, was strongly in favor of the dispute resolution board. And while it's fortunate that we didn't need it, on a project of this size, if you do have a significant dispute midway through, it takes a great deal of time and effort to bring a staff together, kind of outside third parties that can take a look at this, substantial delays to the project. So really a key component on any large project to ensure that if there is some sort of dispute, it can get resolved amicably and keep the project on schedule. In this particular case, we're opening up all three direct connectors early. I understand we're going to be 100% completion on Monday, so we're 2 weeks ahead of schedule. So obviously this project was really a kind of a model for how projects operate. So subject to your questions, by contract, we're required to make payment to America's Gateway Builders for half of that DRB, and that's what we're asking for here.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All
I
those
have a
in-
question, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir.
In future contracts not related to this, in future contracts, are we required to, did this board particular meet that incurred cost, or did they not meet?
Yes, this board met quarterly. So we had quarterly partnering meetings between the developer team and the owner team, which was us and TxDOT and AGB. And then in between those quarterly meetings, we had the dispute resolution board that brought together the developers and us as well. So there were
actual items to be discussed. It wasn't the fact that we just hire them, and because we hire them, we need to pay them.
No. These are for actual services rendered. So when you look at the backup, there's a memo from our general engineering consultant that identifies each of the three dispute resolution board members and the invoices that they submitted, and that really shows you the expenses that were incurred. So those expenses include travel. They include development of a manual that they use to manage the meetings and that sort of thing. Right. And I'd mention also, although there were no true disputes that were brought to them to be heard, we actually did manage a couple of disputes in there where we actually discussed them during the meeting and talked about them as though they were going to be submitted as an actual dispute. And part of that discussion, and in fact part of the threat of developing a dispute resolution board matter for hearing purposes, helped us resolve those issues. So in the end, it actually really did help us.
Thank you.
I believe we had a motion and a second. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Item 7A is approved. Item 7B, Mr. Tejas?
Yes, sir. So this one is a ratification. This one is a little bit different. As you know, we've had two prior change orders to the Americas Interchange project, and those were both added at the RMA's request, and they included the addition of an entrance ramp to I-10 to alleviate some traffic on the westbound frontage road. It also included the development of a sidewalk to resolve a dispute. In fact, one of the disputes that I was referring to in the dispute resolution board discussions was that sidewalk item that we resolved through change order number 2. What you have before you today is change order number 3. And what we're looking to do, as the chair mentioned, this project is going to be complete in advance, and we actually have some additional funding available. So what we're looking to do under change order number 3 is actually complete the milling and overlay of the existing frontage road, westbound frontage road, that really from the end of the new portion of frontage road that this project developed, which is close to the Rush Truck Center, and heading westbound, just west of Don Haskins, where the concrete frontage road begins close to Zaragoza. So there's a portion there that we're looking to mill and overlay. So essentially, we're looking to tear out the existing asphalt and replace it with new asphalt. This change order is in the amount of $238,828.17. The reason why it's on here as a ratification is that the majority of the funds that are coming for this particular change order come from additional stimulus funds, ARRA funds that TxDOT actually found and added to this particular project. The reason we had to move so quickly was that the AIR funds need to be spent extremely quickly, but beyond that, this project, as we've discussed and as we will discuss later in the agenda, is almost done. So we needed to get the developer to move as quickly as they could so that this additional work wouldn't delay the opening of the project. So in discussion with the chair and the vice chair, I moved forward and asked that the developer begin work on it, and I would come before you all with the ratification of those actions. I would mention also the ARA funds that are used for this change order were identified by TxDOT and were approved for use by the Federal Highway Administration only for this change order. So if we didn't use them here, we couldn't use them elsewhere. So for those various reasons, we were really under a time crunch. So with that as background, I would mention also the subcontractor who's actually doing the work started this morning, and we believe that his work will be done Monday as well. Now there'll be some striping that'll have to happen. I believe it's approximately 2 weeks after that, based on specs that apply to that type of road work. But this project, for all intents and purposes, will be done Monday, we believe.
So this was a terrific value add to the project itself. I had the opportunity to drive this stretch of roadway where the milling is going to be completed. The GEC and I were out as part of the partnering session while we were looking at the east to north direct connect, and so I saw that what was needed and very much required, and it's a big benefit that we were able to get these additional funds and get this done. So,
Mr. Chair, it's good to hear and the example that the RMA board is putting forth, getting the work done in time and on budget. The next step, the next challenge is to get it on ahead of time and under budget.
Well, I would argue that we're doing that in
doing
both
that?
instances.
Great.
We are in advance of substantial completion, which was originally scheduled for January 8th. So we are ribbon cutting on the 18th of December. In terms of under budget, we actually do have a surplus of funds. So I believe we've done both.
Excellent. It's a tribute to this board is working correctly.
well, thank you very much for that, and great tribute to Ricardo mentioned the entire board, our staff with Raymond, our GEC, and the entire team. Really, I think this project has been a model of how you get things done. Regional cooperation. There's a number of good lessons to be learned out of this project. So with that, is there a motion to ratify the actions to execute and implement change order number 3?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? It's ratified. Item 8, discussion and action on a board resolution adopting the CRRMA's fiscal year 13 investment policy, which I believe, Mr. Tejas, very closely mirrors the city's investment policy. Is that correct?
It does, absolutely. As you all know, the City of El Paso serves as the fiscal agent for the Comunidad RMA. So what we do on an annual basis, and we're required to adopt an investment policy, what we will do is we wait for the City of El Paso to adopt their investment policy, and then we adopt theirs as ours with additional specific revisions. And in your resolution, you'll note, for example, we are authorized to do specifically guaranteed investment contracts, which are not explicitly noted within the city's investment policy. So this is done each year. Subject to your questions, I'm asking for approval of this item.
Any questions?
We have money to invest?
Yes, we do.
Really?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Not a lot, but we've
Short term?
That's right. But this covers the Interloop funds. This covers the Americas loans and that sort of thing. So yes, sir, we do.
Looking at the financials, I wondered. Okay.
Is there a motion on
Move to
item
approve.
8? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Item 8 is approved. Item 9, presentation, discussion, and action on a report from the CRRMA's General Engineering Consultant Team on the use of local resources. Mr. Jacobs, are you going to be giving us the honor of today, of that report?
Yes, sir.
I would mention that we were supposed to do this, we're doing this on a quarterly basis. We missed the last quarter, so I apologize for that. So today we have actually 2 quarters to update you all on.
Thank you. Pete Jacobs, GEC. You have 3 pages handed to you, and we also have these for handout.
Yeah, because
Can we pull up the Elmo, please?
Magnifying glass.
Well, I think I'm going to strain that, maybe.
blow it up maybe 100%.
If you could read this, it would tell you.
Can't. So here, open it up again and then go to the view. It was at 46, or 200, you can read it. Yeah.
What is it? Oh, okay.
There's some background in the back of the packet as well.
There you go. Yeah, it's the same thing that you should have in your background. What this one is the July, and what this is the delta, or the difference between, see, we did the one that ended in March, and this is April, May, June, excuse me, this is June, April, May, June, and July, excuse me, there we go. We had done the previous one. So you see the delta, and it's done by the firms that are on the GEC team, and it's showing the percentages. The second one is showing the quarterly update for the next 3 months through October. And then the third one is starting from the very beginning and showing by quarter where the changes have been and where things have been going. As you can see, initially it started off because it was mainly procurement activities. Then it leveled out and we used a lot, and the majority of the work was done locally. And then here recently we are again back to some procurement and then toll. And that's the main reason why the non-local work has gone in, or has gone up.
So as I look at quarter 14 and quarter 15, and I see the green bar, which is non-local resources, what you just mentioned is the specificity in regards to the procurement of Telvent and some of those other items.
That is correct.
RFP, the RFQ is what increased the non-local components.
That is correct.
And then as I'm looking here from quarter 15, local resources, $1.1 million, non-local, a little over $1 million, so total $2.1 million. Is that correct? Is that how I'm reading?
Correct. That is correct.
What kind of feedback are we getting from the local engineering community? What are you hearing? How can we do better? How is this approach working? Are there things that we need to do as a team to continue to tweak what we're looking to try to do, which is increase local participation in regards to RMA projects?
I know that we're in the process of, well, to answer your first question is, recently I haven't heard anything, but then I have met with somewhere between 15 and 20 of the local engineering firms or organizations who would like to work with us. And we have passed on that much of the design that's going to be coming up soon will be done through the procurement process, where we'll be going out and asking the local firms to provide the design. For instance, there's 2 more direct connectors on the American Interchange. There's frontage roads, and there's the cloverleafs. Those will all be done through procurement packages, and which will allow the local firms to participate and try to obtain and do those work for us. We would do management or oversight of those projects, but as a whole, all that work would be done by the procurement, through the procurement process.
As you know, we tasked the GEC with putting this report together quarterly to address a concern that was raised in regards to the use of local resources, local engineering firms. What questions do you have for the GEC, specifically Mr. Jacobs, about kind of the report? Do you like the format of the report? Would you like to see it different? Is quarterly reporting sufficient for you? And just any other thoughts that you may have?
Excuse me. I happen to like this report, and I appreciate the fact that you're doing this. Also, I'd like to point out, I think we're probably one of the only agencies doing this, and actually reviewing our own. I mean, I haven't seen it from any others. I don't know how anyone else feels.
Well, perhaps we can be a model for going forward.
I think we are, actually. So I applaud what we're doing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I like the format as well. I think it's easy to look at it and see the result.
So the projects that we're going forth with are the 2 additional direct connectors, which are going to complete the final 8, or the ultimate configuration for Americas. What else are we looking at on kind of a timeline?
We're in the process of working out that negotiation right now with TxDOT to get the FPA. Once we have that resolved, then we could probably release it very soon thereafter. It would be the 2 direct connectors, the clover leaves, and the frontage roads to complete off that whole interchange.
All right. I would just like to point out to the local engineering community that's in the audience today that we've heard you. We understand our commitment as El Pasoans to utilize local resources whenever possible, and we're working in that direction. If you have any comments, we'd certainly like to hear those. If there's anything that you'd like to funnel through Raymond Tejas, or that if you'd like to meet and discuss how you feel we can do a better job in getting this information out, please let us know. We're basically providing this report to the local engineering community as a service to the local community to show our efforts. And if there's ways we can make this better, tweak this report somehow, do some things that you feel would enhance what our overall goal is, then we'd like to know. So any other questions for Mr. Jacobs? Pete, thank you very much.
You bet. Yes, sir.
And I guess the one thing that we could do better, Raymond, is moving forward is that we do this quarterly. So the next report we're looking at in March, we have a presentation just like this, same sort of format, same charts, same graphs. We can compare how we're doing over the various quarters. So
Yes, sir. And I'll also, I'll make a point of adding a section to our website where this can be easily found. Each of the reports can be found on our website in the backup material for our agenda, but I'll find a place perhaps within the procurement tab so that this information can be easily accessed by the public as well.
I think that's an excellent idea. Item 10, update, discussion, and action on the Executive Director's report regarding A, Loop 375 at I-10 is America's Interchange Project ribbon cutting. B is the I-10 Corridor Aesthetics Project public meeting of November 8th, 2012. C, El Paso County Socorro and Horizon City Transportation Reinvestment Zones. And D, relocation of City Hall and the CRRMA office. A, Mr. Tejas?
I'll be quick with this report, and no action is required for any of these items. So 10A deals with the Americas Interchange, as we've discussed a couple of times now. We are going to be finishing this project earlier than originally planned. The scheduled substantial completion date is January 8th. We are actually having the ribbon cutting next Tuesday, December 18th. So we're all very happy about that. And I've heard from a couple of you, unfortunately, you can't make it. But the rest of you, I hope you all are able to make it. Let me know, and I'll share those maps with you.
And I believe the plan is that as we're going to have the ribbon cutting, and then the barriers are going to begin being removed, and those direct connectors will be available and open to the public starting Tuesday evening, Wednesday morning. Is that correct, Mr. Jacobs? That's correct. So an early holiday present to the citizens of this community, as this project has come in on time, on budget, and they've been very, very, very patient and really great partners with us in this project. A big thanks to Blanca and her efforts at TxDOT in regards to the Public Information Office to get the details out to the closures, and this will be really a very welcome increase to the transportation capacity and infrastructure on the east side and what is being billed as the East Side Spaghetti Bowl, or the first component of it. So really great news.
Mr. Chair, is this news being distributed to the media? I mean, this is really positive in an area where we've seen a lot of negatives.
Yes, sir. Yes, we're working with TxDOT's Public Information Officer, and I'm also going to be working with the city's Public Information Officer, so that all media outlets are aware, and hopefully will be there.
Yeah, but my point being is that we want to, at least in my mind, I want to emphasize the fact that we're ahead of schedule and are under budget.
Oh, right. Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, sir. And in fact, our chair will be the MC, and I imagine in his initial kind of kickoff comments that will be part of your comments, sir.
Absolutely. I've got a number of great comments prepared.
Yes, sir. So that's item 10A. We're very happy about that. Item 10B deals with the I-10 corridor aesthetics project. As you know, we had a public meeting on November 8th where we asked the public to come out and see what the artist had developed along with our engineers, and we were really soliciting input from the public, asking for what they liked, what they didn't like, what they'd like to see tweaked. We had actually a very good turnout. We had about 40 individuals, some of which obviously were part of the GEC team. There were TxDOT representatives, there were City of El Paso representatives, there were a number of individuals there. A couple of our board members were present as well. Of those 40 individuals, we were soliciting input cards as well. We got 4 cards back. Not as many as we would have liked, but the 4 that we got back were actually very positive. And a lot of the comments during the discussion were very positive. So from that, we've continued on with the development of the conceptual plan. And in fact, in January, we will be bringing back the artist and the engineer for them to show to this body, as well as the City Council and the Metropolitan Planning Organization, the concept developed to that date, and also to let them know of timelines and that sort of thing. So at our January meeting, in fact, I'm actually going to be asking that this board have push our normally scheduled January meeting, which I believe is scheduled for the 9th. We're going to push that a week to allow us to work with the schedules of the MPO and the City of El Paso so that we can have all 3 bodies presented to within the same week. So that'll happen in January. So we're moving forward. A very, very, very interesting project. Item 10C deals with the transportation reinvestment zones that we've been discussing. And we last discussed them, I believe, at our special October meeting. I'm here to tell you today, I'm very happy also that the County of El Paso, the City of Socorro, and the Town of Horizon City have all adopted their transportation reinvestment zones. Horizon adopted theirs on November 27th, with the county on the 3rd, and Socorro as recently as the 6th. So next steps include we're going to have a sit-down, I'm hoping for next week, where we can all identify the next steps, including the finalization of the project list, and really the development of the agreements in terms of who's going to do what, the assignment of the revenues, hopefully to the RMA, so that the RMA can serve as a program manager for those projects. And then really, that's when we begin to look at the procurement process and that sort of thing. So I'm pleased to tell you that first step was done, and we did it also in advance of our deadline. We had to adopt those TRZs before the end of December, and we actually adopted late November and early December, so we're all really happy with the progress of that program as well. So we're doing good work, and I'll keep you posted as we move forward on those 3 projects.
And those TRZs had to be adopted by December in order to set the property tax rates for this year. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
And, that TRZ was really instrumental in regards to one of the funding sources for Americas. So it's a great tool that can be utilized, and I'm glad to see the county, the City of Horizon, and Socorro going out and looking at utilizing these tools to take care of some of their needs today and spending those in today's dollars versus what I hear is 6 to 8% increase or inflation in regards to construction going forward. So.
That's right. We've also received a great deal of press and interest on the TRZs, but this RMA in particular, but the region as well. We've received accolades from the Texas Transportation Commission. We've been asked to speak in Dallas, Austin, Corpus Christi. There are a number of regions that are looking to develop TRZs, and they're looking to El Paso for our expertise.
It's good to hear. Have you communicated the benefits of the TRC to the City of Anthony?
Actually, we've spoken with Anthony very briefly. I understand that, and to go back in time, these 3 TRZs came about because of a study that the Metropolitan Planning Organization did for the east side of El Paso. They were tasked by then Chair Pickett to identify potential TRZs on the east side of El Paso. Since then, the MPO has been authorized to essentially do the same type of study on the west side, including Anthony and Vinton. We've spoken with the mayors of Anthony and Vinton, and they're very interested to see how that study goes. TTI, if they've not begun, they are about to begin now. And we've offered we've made the same offer of assistance to the west side as we did to the east side, which was essentially the RMA through myself and our consultant, Terry Quesada, who was tasked with developing the first TRZ and the second and third TRZs for the city of El Paso, will offer those services to Vinton and to Anthony and to anybody else really that's interested in pursuing TRZs. So yes, sir, we have.
Thank you.
And finally, the 10D, the reason everyone's here, that we want to hear where we're going to be moving to, Raymond. So just, where are we going?
Well, I've been informed that the RMA offices will actually be moving to the El Paso Times building. We will move sometime between February and March. In the interim, we believe we'll continue to hold our meetings here for some time. The City 15 folks will be moving into the library. So at some point between now and February, we will have kind of an interim meeting location in the auditorium of the library, and they're setting that up now. Council will meet there. We will meet there. Everybody who needs to stream and record their meetings will meet there for a period until the El Paso Times building has their permanent city council chambers built out there. Once those are done, then, of course, all of our meetings will shift over to the Times building as well. But in terms of office space, we will move once, thankfully, into the El Paso Times, and we'll stay there. That's as of a couple weeks back. So.
And we're moving sometime in March?
Between February and March, yes, sir. Before the explosions.
That's good timing.
Right.
Any other
To your
comments or questions?
That's all I have for you all.
Before I ask for a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Stayes, I guess you weren't successful in negotiating some suites to be located in a new stadium, huh?
No, sir.
We could have a real good
We're
meeting.
lucky we got a closet if we get it.
Is there a motion to adjourn? Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? All those opposed? We are adjourned, 10:55 a.m. on December 12th, 2012.